Welcome to Buzz Around the Globe. Who would have ever thought green tech could cause world problems? After all, it is projected as solution to all our problems. But it seems green tech is at the heart of trade fight between US and China. Two major economic superpowers have been trying to strike a power balance. And the visit of China by US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is probably an effort in that direction. US sees China's massive production as a threat, but Beijing's Commerce Minister has dismissed US concerns that a surge of low-cost Chinese exports pose a risk to global markets as groundless. During the visit by US Treasury Secretary, Chinese officials have sounded a positive note that ties between the two countries are on more stable footing, with both sides agreeing to open channels for further talks on the issue of excess industrial capacity or overcapacity. The US concern is that with Chinese government support creating more production capacity than global markets can absorb, a flood of cheap exports in key sectors like solar and electric vehicles could impact the growth of these industries everywhere else. But Commerce Minister of China said that the accusations of overcapacity by the United States and Europe are groundless. This is according to China's state-run Xinhua news agency. He claimed that Chinese electric vehicle makers' rapid growth was due to innovation and established supply chains and not subsidies given by the government. He added that Beijing would support businesses in defending their interest. Beijing has repeatedly dismissed concerns over its vast state support for industry. The European Union has started a probe into Chinese electric car subsidies that could lead to tariffs on vehicles it believes are unfairly sold at a lower price, which Beijing last month condemned as protectionism. Yellen has brought up overcapacity repeatedly in talks with Chinese officials and business leaders. She also raised it with China's Prime Minister in a bid to bring the concerns to the highest levels of Chinese policymaking. China's growing production of electric cars and other green technologies has become a flashpoint in the new US-China trade fight. China has sharply ramped up its production of cheap electric vehicles, solar panels, and batteries, just as the Biden administration has pushed through legislation supporting many of those same industries in United States. So what's behind this new trade fight between US and China? Here are some of the questions and answers to this entire issue. So firstly, what is exactly this threat from China? After more than a decade of subsidizing its automakers, China has built a substantial car industry that accounts for 60% of global electric vehicles or the EV sales, according to the Paris-based International Energy Agency. Yet, by some estimates, Chinese companies are producing as many as 10 million more electric vehicles or the EVs annually than they can sell domestically, according to the AAM. That overproduction is driving them to sell more cars overseas. Similarly, dynamics exist in other industries such as solar panels, batteries, and more traditional areas such as steel. But this is a story US is all too familiar with. The story of China pushing out competition from green tech. Xinhua, a solar cell manufacturer in Norcross, Georgia, was once forced to close down, like other companies across a number of industries, because it could not compete against large quantities of goods that China was exporting at artificially depressed prices. China is now the world's largest producer of solar cells. Xinhua closed in 2017, but is restarting production with the help of subsidies from the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. Similarly, steel and aluminium imports surged into the United States roughly a decade ago after China's government supported increased production after the 2008 and 9 global financial crisis. Those imports were hit with tariffs in 2017 during the Trump administration. And Biden has also kept the tariffs. In fact, the Biden administration pushed through several pieces of legislation that have provided financial support to clean energy and semiconductor producers. China has even filed a complaint before the World Trade Organization, charging that some of Biden's subsidies for electric car purchases violate trade rules. Concerns are growing not just in the US but also in Europe and Mexico that China will seek to bolster its own struggling economy with a wave of exports that could undercut factories overseas. A US trade group, the Alliance for American Manufacturing, noted in a February report that leading China automaker BYD has recently introduced an electric SUV at an astonishingly low price of $14,000. China's auto industry poses an existential threat to US car makers, according to this report. Donald Trump, at a rally late last month in Ohio, charged that China would seek to export cars into the United States through Mexico. The US currently has a 25% tariffs on cars from China that are largely blocked vehicles from that country. But Mexico has a free trade agreement with the US. Trump promised to block such imports with new tariffs, but suggested if Biden was re-elected, it would be a bloodbath for the auto industry. For now, the two sides have mainly agreed to hold talks on the issue. China hasn't committed to any steps to address American concerns, arguing that its cheap solar panels and other green products are helping the world wage the costly battle against climate change. But the government in Beijing has also acknowledged that manufacturing overcapacity and weak consumer spending are challenges it needs to confront to achieve sustainable growth for its own economy. This rapid expansion of EV production has sparked fierce price wars and are expected to drive some of the makers out of the business. They could be American or could be European. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comments section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.